What I'll do is, if given the size of the group, it'd be great just to get some introductions from each of you, just to where you're from. I know that I've met a couple of you before, such as Emma and Nikki, just to get some introductions about. Hi, Charlotte. How are you?
Hello, hiya.
Welcome.
Hello.
We're just doing a couple of introductions. So, what would be great if you could just introduce yourselves, maybe tell us where you're from and what you're hoping to get out of today's session. So, I'm just going to go in order as I see it. We'll just start with yourself, Emma, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Emma Martin. I'm head of people and culture at Pedigree Group, which is a pet food and accessories wholesaler throughout the UK. But we also have a retail division. I have been working there for just over 3 years, leading their people and cultural agenda there. What do I want to get out of today? So always in learning mode, love learning new things, very passionate about mental health and well-being. So lead that in the business, obviously, with my role, but it is a passion of mine. So for me, what do I want to get out of it? Just more information and the top tips or anything like that.
Okay, brilliant. I think it was the managing and mental health session that you came to in January, wasn't it? Yourself and Nikki. Okay, brilliant. Great. Thanks. Nice to have you back with us again, Emma. Pamela, if you would mind just doing a short intro for us.
Yes, I'm customer manager at Blackheath branch of West Brom. I've worked for the society about 12 years, I think now, and been customer manager for about 3 or 4. And sort of for me, why I kind of wanted to get involved on this was just because obviously we're going through difficult times and what have you at the moment. It's just to kind of keep that positive mindset, I think, and kind of just try and keep the momentum with the team and, you know, that kind of thing, get some tips and hints or what have you, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head, which is why we've chosen this subject and others for that very reason. I think it's definitely a very challenging time for us all. I come from a banking background myself, actually spent 12 years in a bank back home in Australia. So I have some sympathy, is that the right word? Maybe some understanding might be the better word of how the financial service industry works. So brilliant. Okay, yeah, Charlotte, maybe if you could just give us a short intro.
Yeah, so I'm Charlotte. I'm a branch manager for the West Brom Building Society, the same place where Pam works and Rekha. The reason why I wanted to come on here is because I manage a large team within the West Brom, as well as a team that travel around all our branches. And it's important to keep that kind of momentum going with them all, keeping them positive. It's hard, like Pam said, with what's going on at the moment, to do that when you are kind of on the front line working. So I'm a mental health first aider as well for the West Brom, and I'm looking after the wellbeing side for our little group of branches in our cluster. So I just want to get some hints, tips, how I can support everyone, my fellow managers, as well as all the team that we've got in the cluster as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks so much, Charlotte. Rekha, okay. Please let me know if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but if we could get an intro, that would be great.
No, you are pronouncing it right. So my name is Rekha. So I work for the West Brom as well, customer manager at the Handsworth branch. Been with the society near enough, maybe up to 4 years coming this year. The reason why I joined is because I want to sort of understand my mindset and how I can help my team's mindset as well. Because as we all discussed, well-being at the moment is quite forefront for everyone, especially during this pandemic. And maybe take something away which I can share with my family and my friends as well.
I think that's fantastic. How do you improve someone else's mindset when you don't understand your own? So I think that's a really good approach to take on this. And I like the fact that you're considering not just from a work perspective at home. I think in our world, in our house, they're absolutely blurred at the moment. My wife and my 2 kids all sat around a kitchen table trying to work. So there's no real differentiation between the two. Okay, thanks so much for that, Rekha. Nikki.
Take myself off mute. Hi guys. So I work with Emma with the Pedigree Group, and I've been with the company just over 3 months. Echoing what everybody else has said, you know, it's such a tricky time at the minute. So we're all in this unusual situation, whereas, you know, I'd like to understand how I can help the team, but also myself, and just get to grips with how we are able to cope emotionally in this current climate.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. You'll see Jess up on the screen. I will introduce her in a moment, and also Sarah, who some of you may be familiar with, is one of our colleagues at Purple House, just sitting in to have a bit of a listen here today. The purpose. Hi, Sarah. Thank you. She is there. She is there hiding somewhere, aren't you, Sarah? She never puts a video on. I don't know why. Maybe it's me, Sarah. Maybe okay, brilliant. So the purpose of this is an hour session. I guess, given the size of the group, we prefer this to be sort of a discussion, interactive, rather than us just download information to you. So, certainly would encourage you to contribute as much as you possibly can. Jess will ask you questions anyway, so feel free to come on or come off audio if you've got any questions, and or use the chat functions. I take it you're all familiar with Zoom. I might get you to give me a proper thumbs up. Let's go hardcore here. Have you used Zoom before? Yeah, there we go. It's just so much more natural than fussing around trying to find the button. Okay, brilliant. So that the purpose is to give you a few ideas and a few tips and hints that you can use, and Jess will run through some of those in a bit more detail for you. If you did want further information at the end of the course, at the end of the session, sorry, you can let me know, and we can have a further discussion if need be. We run courses on this as well as other courses around leadership management courses as well. So if you wanted to get further information, more than happy to do that, and also provide a copy of the slides and or the recording. Okay, so without further ado, with great pleasure, Jess ran our managing and mental health session a couple of months ago, and it was fantastic. So those who attended that, I think, would agree that it was quite useful. So the fact you've come back is a good sign. So isn't it, with this type of thing? So yeah, just I like putting a bit of pressure on Jess before we run these sessions. So with great pleasure, I'll hand over to Jess, who will facilitate the session from here.
Thank you, Tim. Welcome, everybody. It's so lovely to see you all here today. Thanks for all jumping on and taking some time out to learn a bit more about mindsets. I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, it's saying I'm not able to. Tim, are you able just to give me permission?
Yes, it might help if I made you a host.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's all right.
I'll edit that out of the recording, everybody, so you don't have to listen to that.
Right. Sorry, guys, where are we? So, a little introduction to me before we get into the main content for today. So it's great to be here. As Tim said, my name is Jess. I am a mindset coach. So I've been working in my coaching business, Jessica Shields Coaching, for the last 6 years almost now, actually. And what I do is I work with clients to help them manage their mindsets to achieve success, whether that's in their personal life or their professional life. I help them to develop confidence, develop resilience, motivation, lots of different things to help them to actually program their mindset to achieve different kinds of success, whatever that might be for them. I work in lots of different contexts. I do a lot of work in schools, working with students, sort of teenage, sort of late adolescent students, helping them, again, to manage their mindset. Very, very important when they're going through exams, preparing themselves for sort of getting into work, getting into university, further education and things like that. I also work with a couple of charities. So I work with one working in prisons, with women in prison. So I coach them on all of the same stuff, so managing their mindsets, and also work with a pupil referral unit down in London. So work with students there that have been expelled from school and usually sort of close to getting involved in gang crimes and different things like that. So work with those students as well, again, all around mindset, because mindset is just so important to help us. It changes our outcomes, it changes our choices in life. It is so important for us to understand our mindset to be able to really achieve what we want to achieve and to help others as well. So it's really relevant for managers, you know, to understand themselves and to better understand their teams too. So everything that you guys have said this morning already is really, really relevant, because that's all the stuff that we're going to be looking at today. So hopefully you'll have loads of hints and tips to take away with you. I am too from the Black Country, as lots of you are on this call today. I'm from Wolverhampton, so West Midlands based as well. But you know, with the kind of the virtual world now, I'm delivering lots of stuff around the UK as well. So that's one great thing to have come out of the last kind of year. Okay, so let's get straight into this then. Let's think about what a mindset is. So feel free, if you want to unmute yourself or pop something in the chat box, to just have a little think about what is a mindset. What do you guys know from that word already? feel free to just pop some ideas in the chat box or unmute yourself. Get the thinking cogs going. Tim, if you see anything in the chat, can you just read it out for me, please? Because I'm just still having trouble managing that chat box.
Will do.
Thanks, Tim. So what do we think a mindset is about? What do we think it means?
I would say maybe your kind of past experiences or opinions on something as well. So your past experiences can make you have a certain mindset towards certain things, or an opinion based on something.
Excellent. Yeah, brilliant, Charlotte. Thank you. So it depends on our past experiences that have shaped our thinking around something, which might contribute to our mindset. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely.
Got a couple in the chat. Emma's mentioned the way we decide to approach or react or be reactive to something, and Nikki's mentioned how you go about approaching a situation.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. That's excellent. So along the same sort of long lines there around how we approach, how we respond to situations. Absolutely, it's totally right. And, you know, I think, again, what Charlotte was saying about that past experience can sometimes shape our responses and how we react to, you know, the world around us. So just to bring this to life, I've got a wonderful quote from Gandhi, probably one of my favourites. And it's this reasons what a mindset is about. So your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So lots of different components there that create a mindset, essentially. And, you know, we kind of hear these words about mindsets being bandied around. You know, we might hear somebody speak about a success mindset, or a money mindset, or a positive mindset, or a negative mindset. And quite often we can look at it at that face value, but actually there's so much underneath that underpins it and actually contributes to the way that mindset works. And that's what we'll be thinking about this morning, is all those contributing factors and how we can manage those to ensure that we're creating a mindset that really works for us. So the thing with this quote that stands out for me is that it's really about that starting point of the beliefs. If we can think about what our beliefs are and how they influence the way that we see the world, the way that we respond to situations, that can be a really great place for us to start in terms of thinking about how we make the most of our mindset, or how we might change our mindset as well. So mindsets are habits of mind. So the first time the term mindset was used was back in the 1930s, and it was used with this meaning of it's habits of mind. It's habits that we've created over time that shape the way that our mind is. So it's about those deeply held beliefs that we have, those attitudes, those assumptions that come from those beliefs. And that creates who we are. It creates how we see the world around us. And just thinking back to those terms, you know, that positive mindset, or success mindset, or money mindset, you know, what is it that's underneath that that's really created that mindset for that person? You know, if somebody's had experiences where they've been really positive and positivity has moved them forward, then that will help them develop that positive mindset for the future. They might have experienced negative experiences in their life. They might have had negative situations that they've gone through or experienced, and actually they've come out of that by utilising positivity, and that has then shaped them into creating more of a positive mindset for themselves. So it's not only these experiences, but it's how we respond to them that helps us build this mindset and build how we create our own mindsets. So our mindsets are shaped by those experiences. We're constantly learning. We're constantly going through a learning process. Everything that we experience in our life is shaping the way that we've learned about that in one form or another. And as I was just saying, you know, we can take experiences as true, you know, or we can challenge those. If we challenge those, it can change some of the beliefs that they can form. So it's really important for us to tune into our experiences. If we think about, you know, this life that we've lived over the last year, it's been very different to what we've experienced before. That has shaped our mindset. That has changed the way that we see the world. You know, I have friends, people that I work with that were once very outgoing. As a result, now they're quite concerned about how we get back into that normal world. You know, their whole beliefs and values about making the most of the weekends and going out and experiencing things has totally shifted, because this experience that they've had this last year has changed some of that stuff, which has changed their mindset. So it's really important for us to reflect upon what experiences have been really fundamental for us over our life and what has changed our mindset from those. Just to share a little bit about myself, I started my business when I was 22. I'd come pretty much straight out of university, did some work and did some more studying, got a few more qualifications in the area of coaching, and decided I was going to start this business and go out and coach people. And back when I first started, I said I was a life coach, which I don't always refer to myself as now, but for me, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people change their lives, whether it was from a personal perspective or a professional perspective. And I got a lot of feedback from other people around, you don't know anything about life, you're too young to know anything about life, so how can you be a life coach? But for me, I mean, that is wrong in itself, because I'm not advising people what to do in their life. It's more about me facilitating them to come up with their own solutions. But for me, that didn't match my belief that I had about the work that I wanted to do. So I challenged that. You know, I didn't take that feedback, that experience as truth for me. I challenged that, and I would tell these people that gave me that feedback exactly why I was doing what I was doing, and I'd educate them a little bit more on what coaching was. And actually that then strengthened my mindset even more, because my words, my actions, my thoughts were all matching that belief that I had about what I wanted to achieve. It means when we have a mindset that we have certain blind spots, and this is just part and parcel of what our mindsets do. So from the experiences that we have, it shapes the way that we see the world. And of course, we're not going to be able to experience everything from one certain situation. We're only going to be able to experience it in certain ways, in certain forms. So of course, when we experience new things, we're going to have blind spots. That's inevitable, and it's something that we perhaps need to accept. But the more open-minded we become, the more open we are to developing our mindset, the more that we're going to shift these blind spots and understand them in a little bit more detail, or perhaps even spot them before they occur. So it's important for us to think about, you know, what have we missed? What have we not been able to see because of the way that our mindset is functioning? And I find it quite interesting as well, because we can take different meanings from things. You know, how often have you watched a film or read a book and taken a very different meaning from that from somebody next to you? I mean, you know, I'm quite a film buff, and me and my partner will watch films quite regularly at the moment as well in lockdown. But we often take very different meanings from the things that we've seen, and it's because we both have very different experiences of the world, and we've got a different mindset. So for me, I find that quite exciting. I find that quite interesting, that, you know, we can embrace that. We can embrace the way that people see things differently. And especially with your teams, this is so important for us to recognise, because when we can recognise the blind spots our team members have, you know, we can think about how we make those become a bit more open so that we can see those. You know, we might have members of our teams that have different blind spots to others. Think about how we use those strengths, how we pull on those to make sure that everyone's mindset in the team is working together in a really, really fluid and connected way. Our mindsets change our reality as well. So because we see life through this particular lens, with this particular mindset, we see things through a bit of a filter of the world. It's almost like we put a bit of a filter on the world because we see things in this particular way. It's important for us to think about confirmation bias. You know, we might take things that have happened in a certain situation, we might interpret those in a false way. So, for example, if I've had a really bad experience with interviews, or I had one particularly bad experience with an interview, that might shape my mindset, that might shape my beliefs about myself, particularly in an interview situation. It might change the way that I interpret future interviews as well. And actually, I might go into my next interview and the interviewer might be looking really uninterested in me. He's looking up in the other corner of the room, he's not focused on me, he seems to be fidgeting quite a lot. I might take that as reaffirming my belief that I'm not great in interview situations, and that's why he's behaving in this way. But actually, in reality, that might just be his concentration face. You know, some of us like to fidget when we're concentrating. Some of us like to focus in the other corner of the room while we're processing our thoughts. So actually, it's really important for us to understand these beliefs that underpin our mindsets, because it totally changes the way our reality plays out around us. We can take different meanings from things depending on what our mindset is. They impact our everyday lives. You know, every day we are faced with choices, we are faced with opportunities, we are faced with things around us that we can either, you know, take on board or leave alone. And all of these choices are obviously shaped by our mindsets. You know, we can choose to embrace something if we believe it's going to benefit us, or we might fear that opportunity and actually stay away from it because our mindset is saying, no, that's too dangerous, that's too out there for us, we can't do that. So it's really, again, important for us to be open, to open up our minds and embrace things and help us challenge that mindset. Our mindset can also create part of a shared world. So when we connect with somebody who has a really similar mindset to ourselves, that can become really powerful. So there might be something that you're working on in work, you know, there might be a project that you're trying to put forward, or you're trying to create some sort of cultural change at work. You know, you might be really advocating mental health and well-being, mental well-being at work. When you partner up with somebody else that has that similar mindset to you, it's really, really useful because you can actually achieve things better together. So think about who you work with and think about you know, who shares that similar sort of mindset to you, and use that to help you to work together and, you know, create something. We see cultural change happening in the world as well. You know, we see environmental changes. I always think that the younger generations at the moment are very much hot on kind of global warming, and they want to reduce plastic waste and lots of all of these wonderful things. And it's incredible to see that it's almost a generational mindset that they've got from their experiences of being born into the world at this particular time, when obviously those things are at a particular crisis. So again, you know, we're influenced by the people around us as well, and that shapes our mindset too. And our mindsets will become more complex the more that we open them, the more open we become to actually developing our mindset and shifting things around, the more that we'll develop a complexity. And that's good. That means that we're able to see things from different perspectives. And of course, as a manager, that's so important, because the more perspectives we can see things from, the more that we can understand how the different mindsets on our team are seeing things as well. And finally, they can be transcended. So just flipping back to those blind spots, we can actually move through blind spots by being more mindful. You've probably all heard of mindfulness. We've spoken a lot about this over this past year particularly. And it's something that actually helps us develop those mindsets, because seeing things from that, you know, if we're seeing things through that filter that's clouded by that past experience, we're not being fully present in that moment, and we might not be able to achieve that situation through that, you know, the most successfully that we can, because it's being clouded by that past experience. So again, if you notice yourself doing that, just take that step back, take a bit of a breather, bring yourself back to the moment, and think about how your mindset is seeing this, so that you can challenge it perhaps in a way that helps you benefit even more. So all of these aspects really kind of cement that idea that it's our beliefs, our values, attitudes, assumptions, our thoughts, our actions that create this mindset, that create this destiny that we want to achieve wherever we are. And actually what we have on the inside manifests on the outside. You know, where we are today in our lives is a whole, you know, response from everything that we've gone through so far, those experiences that we've gone through that have shaped us to get to where we are today. So again, you know, you might hear people sort of say they've got to a point in their life and they think, how have I got here? You know, how am I in this position at work, or how am I in this position in my personal life? And actually it's from their mindset, it's from all of this stuff that they've developed over the years that's got them to this place that they're in today. So because they've created that, they can create a shift as well, which is really empowering for us to know with our mindsets. So understanding our mindsets is really important, to understand where we are with our mindsets and who we are today and how we've got there. So one thing I would encourage you to do, perhaps after the session today, is to just understand your beliefs, your values, attitudes and assumptions. And you might be quite clear on what your beliefs are. You might be quite clear on what your values are from certain experiences that you've had through life. I find with this, it's really important to think about perhaps memories that we have, those really strong or vivid memories that we have that have actually created some of those beliefs. So you might have a manager, or you might have had a manager at work perhaps who really believed in you and really supported you and really helped you to climb that next step of the career ladder. And that perhaps having that experience has actually built your belief in yourself, built your belief in your strengths, your values, what you value at work. You might have had an experience at work where, you know, fairness and equality wasn't quite at the forefront, and actually that's fired something up in you in terms of your beliefs or your values. So it's really important for us to think about perhaps some of those memories, just see if you can pluck out a few and think about how those memories have shaped some of those values and beliefs, because that's a really good way of tapping into your mindset and understanding where you are and why you're there. And I wanted to share the self-fulfilling prophecy with you guys as well. This is a really good tool to use. And again, this is probably something we can use with others as well. So you could probably share this with your teams. So for those of you who might not have seen this before, we've obviously got the image there on the slide in front of you. And it basically explains that our beliefs impact our actions, and our actions impact the way others' beliefs about us. And those beliefs that others have about us impact their actions towards us. And their actions towards us then either reaffirm or go against our beliefs. And that changes our belief again. It might strengthen our belief or change our belief again. So just to bring a bit of an example to this, I might have a belief that I'm a great manager for my team, that I'm really helpful, I'm supportive, and I really care about the people that I work with. So because I have that belief, my actions are that I take time to listen to people. I support them if they've had time off work and help them get back into work, you know, with ease. I might really encourage people towards getting the next step of their career. I would, you know, do thoughtful things for them to show that I care, you know, get them a birthday card, buy them a coffee if they've had a pretty rubbish week, you know, give them some really great feedback if I recognise that they needed that bit of motivation. So my actions match my beliefs there. My actions then impact my team's beliefs about me. So my team might think, gosh, Jess has really been there for me this past week. She's been checking in with me because she knows that I've been struggling with some personal stuff. She's really supported me and connected me with other people to help me with this project. She's been a really, really great driving force in helping me recently, and that's great. So then that causes their actions towards me to be giving me great feedback, telling me, Jess, you've really supported me here. I can't thank you enough for all the great work you've been doing with me. Thanks so much for being such a great manager and really being caring about us. And that's then going to reinforce that belief that I have, I'm hearing this great feedback. People are celebrating the fact that I'm, being a great manager. That's going to strengthen my belief and actually reinforce me and keep moving me around that self-fulfilling prophecy in a really positive way. This can also happen if we've got a negative belief about ourselves. It works in exactly the same way. So let's, for example, bring that interview situation back to life here. So I've got this belief that I perform really badly in interviews. I get really nervous. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I just lose all focus and kind of go off track. So that's the belief that I have. That's going to influence my actions because I'm going to walk into my next interview super focused on the way that people's body language is towards me, the way that they speak to me, the gut feeling that I might get when I'm in the room. And because I'm so focused on all of this stuff, I'm going to appear quite nervous because I'm not fully focused in what they're saying. I'm not fully focused in preparing myself. In fact, I might not even prepare very well for the interview in the first place because I have this belief that I'm probably not going to achieve the position of the job from this interview. So that feeds into my actions. My actions then impact those people's belief about me. So they're probably looking at me and thinking, oh, she's a bit nervous. She's not really prepared for this, actually. She's not answering the questions correctly because she's clearly underprepared for this. She doesn't seem to be quite with us on the same page. So that's their belief about me. So then, of course, their actions are going to be that I get feedback that resembles those beliefs. You weren't quite prepared. You don't seem to be the right fit for our business, whatever else might come through that feedback. And again, that's going to reinforce that initial belief that I've got, that belief that I'm rubbish at interviews, people don't like me, and it's going to keep feeding into this loop until we change it. And the one way we can change it is by changing our beliefs. That's the one thing that we can start with, because our actions, sometimes we focus on changing our actions, but actually we need our belief to change our actions, because they're so interlinked. If we try and change our actions without changing our belief, we're probably not going to get much change there. So I use a lot of reframing with clients. You guys might have heard of this before. So we see the world through a particular frame, again, down to our mindset. But we can change this, we can shape this. We've got to the point today because of all of our experiences and the way that we've responded to those. So we're always able to change this and reframe it. So how do we put a new frame on something? How do we imagine that we're putting a new picture frame on a picture that's on our wall? It makes the picture look totally different. Yeah, think about that with our thoughts. How do we reframe our thoughts, put a new frame on them to give them a different meaning? Yeah. So that belief that I might have about the interview situation, I might change that to, you know what, I've had some really, really rubbish interviews in the past, but I'm going to take the time to reflect and think about what I did quite poorly and how I behaved in those situations in the past to help me make positive changes now and help myself achieve something far better in this next interview. Yeah. See how that sounds different? So self-fulfilling prophecy, you can use that with yourself. You might have resonated with some of that stuff there that I was just talking about. You might want to use that with your teams as well. If you recognise that they're in that kind of loop and they need to break it a little bit, that can be a really, really good way to just bring a bit of a visual to how people are behaving.
That's actually a quick question. So one of the mindsets that I come across quite often is the reaction to errors. So we often hear about reframing response to people when they make a mistake. And particularly in some teams with the volumes of inputting of orders that go through, it's the natural that they're going to be an error rate in there. But some people do really respond to a mistake a very strong reaction compared to some others. I'm just interested to see sort of what kind of approach you would take to sort of reframing their response to errors.
So we're going to discuss fixed mindset and growth mindset. Is that something you've come across, Emma? Yeah, great. Because I think that pinpoints it really, really well. So those people that are responding quite negatively to mistakes are probably looking at it from a fixed mindset perspective. But actually, if we've got a growth mindset, we welcome mistakes because it helps us learn from those mistakes. So I'd probably, we've got some really good tips on the next couple of slides around how we instill more of a growth mindset in our teams. But I'd definitely say that if you've got members of the team who are taking those mistakes really to heart, and it's they're taking it as really negative feedback, just share some stuff as a leader, as a manager. Share how you might have had mistakes, made mistakes in the past. How have you grown from those? Think about how you might share that with them so that they can start to recognise that mistakes are actually a good thing because they actually help us learn.
Okay.
Great. And again, just on that sort of thought there, really about how we model things. I've got Sir Roger Bannister here just written in the notes here. You might have come across him before. So he was the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes back in 1954. And back then it was incredible. It was such big news. This man's run a mile under 4 minutes. How incredible! It's great. He's broken a record. And now, in 2021, people run miles under 4 minutes all the time. They do it loads. I'm not one of them, but many people do. And actually, it's because he's paved the way. He's shown us that this is doable. This is achievable. He's definitely he was an innovator. He was a change agent. He was an icon of success, and he made that achievable for people. So again, if you've got members of the team that are struggling with something, think about how you model that, and think about how you speak to them and give them the language that they need to hear that makes it achievable for them. Now, I've got quite a visual example of how to do that now. So I'm going to put an optical illusion on the slide in front of you, and I'd just like you to look at this and just see if you can figure it out. When you figure it out, just feel free to unmute yourself and tell me what it is. So can anyone figure out that optical illusion there?
I can see it says west.
Yay, brilliant.
Oh.
Thanks, Pamela. That's exactly what it is. Can everyone else see that now that Pamela said it says the word west? Yeah, I can see some nods.
Yeah, she just picked me to the post then.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Now, imagine if I'd shown you that picture, and instead of saying, figure out this optical illusion, imagine if I'd said, can you find the word in this picture? You'd have probably been able to find west far, far quicker than me just saying it's an optical illusion. Because again, we've built that for so long, haven't we? I know that when I first saw this, I was just focused on the shapes in between the letters, and I was trying to figure out what they were. It kind of looked like a warped version of Tetris or something. But as soon as I was asked to find a word there, almost instantly, my brain was looking for a word, and I soon was able to spell out the word west. So again, it's about bringing the unconscious conscious with people as well. So, if you're focused on achieving something, we're always told that, we need to bring it to the forefront. We need to focus on it more. It's a bit like when you buy a new car and you found the model that you want, you found this new make and model of the car that you want. And all of a sudden you see this car everywhere you go. You never used to see it before. But as soon as you decided you want this new, I don't know, Ford Fiesta, just taking my own car for example, there's Ford Fiestas everywhere. I mean, there are actually anyway, but they're, you know, you just see them everywhere you go. And it's because you brought that into your focus, you've brought that into the conscious and you've made it aware. So again, it's, as managers, we have we're in such a powerful position to be able to help our team to see what we're seeing together as a team and working together. So be aware of your language and how you bring those possibilities to people.
Just going to add there, when Jess sent this slide deck through and got me to finalize and put it together, she put this image in there and I looked at it and thought, what is that? What has that got to do with mindsets? I could not see anything in there other than weird shapes. It was only when I then debriefed with Jess later on. She said, look for the word, and got it instantaneously. So it was a really good example of how I went from this bizarre position of, oh, I've got no idea what this is, to seeing it instantaneously with the right guidance, I guess. So
that's why you were feeling so tired, Tim. You obviously lost sleepless nights over this,
I did,
hadn't you?
Yeah, I spent 4 hours putting this together, 3 hours and 58 minutes on this image alone. The rest was done quite quickly. But so yeah, great, thanks.
Oh, I'm glad you're able to rest easy now that you know exactly what this is. Brilliant. So yeah, just think about how you make those possibilities able for your team. Okay, so now we're going to come on to a little bit around fixed and growth mindset. This is becoming more and more popular, so you probably have heard of this before. We're going to bring up a poll for you guys just to think about your own mindset in terms of being fixed and being a growth mindset. So this will just pop up for you now. There's just 5 questions. If you can just click your answers, and we'll go through those in a second. So got fastest finger first in there. Someone submitted their answers, great. Great, it's starting to trickle through now. Brilliant. Okay, so we're all done. Brilliant. Okay, so some of these questions just help us to understand a little bit more about fixed mindset and growth mindset. So we had question number 1 there. So you're born with a certain amount of intelligence and it isn't something that can be changed. And obviously all of these have got an agree or we disagree. So with a growth mindset, the belief is there that actually we're all born the same, and our intelligence, you know, our skills and strengths are all formed from how much effort we put into that particular thing. So you can learn new things, but you can't change your underlying level of intelligence. Actually, we can do that through practice, through getting feedback, from learning from our mistakes, all of that wonderful stuff. Intelligence can increase or decrease depending on whether or not you spend time exercising your mind. You've got 100% agree there. Brilliant. Lots of growth mindset on this call today. So absolutely, you know, it's about how we challenge our mind, how we put that time in, we put that effort into to really, you know, practice our craft. Learning new things can increase your underlying intelligence. Absolutely. You know, lots of us here are here because we want to learn more, which is brilliant. And if you practice something for long enough, you can develop a talent for it. And again, you know, the more practice that we do, the better we become at something. We were watching the last weekend the Tiger Woods program, and he is literally just completely he should be the poster guy, I think, for growth mindset, because he literally was knocking golf balls when he was about 3. I think he was like literally just learned to walk, you know. He was hitting golf balls with his golf clubs, and he just was eating, breathing, sleeping golf his whole entire life. And he's such a significant person within golf, and he's achieved so much because he's had this growth mindset. He's always been learning from his mistakes. He's been constantly tweaking his swing his whole life as he's grown, as he's developed, to make sure that he is the best in his game. He's the best of what he does. So yeah, that's exactly what we want to achieve. So a growth mindset is having this mindset that actually seeing failure as an opportunity to grow. So if we fail at something, that is our opportunity to learn from that, to develop, to get better and better and achieve more. You might hear people with a growth mindset saying some of these phrases here. So I can learn to do anything I want. Challenges help me to grow. My effort and attitude determines my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I'm inspired by the success of others. I like to try new things. A fixed mindset is this belief that failure is the limit of my abilities. I'm either good at something or I'm not. That's just the way it is. You quite often hear people saying they're either good at maths or they're not good at maths. I was definitely one of those kids at school. I would much rather sit there and write a story and let my imagination run wild than sit there and do maths problems. And I kind of developed this belief that I just haven't got a mathematical brain. I just wasn't very good at maths. But something shifted in me when I did my GCSEs. I actually got a B at GCSE, which I'm very proud of. I mean, my job now doesn't encompass anything to do with maths, fortunately, but, you know, I put that effort in, I put that time in to really achieve something, and I managed to do it. So it just goes to show that the more that we can change that belief, that we can achieve anything that we want to, the more effort we put in, the results are there. I use a lot of this with students, and I usually share different stories of, you know, famous people, talented people that we know. You know, the Beatles said that they'd practiced for about 10,000 hours before they'd made any success. They used to play 8-hour shows where they would constantly tweak their performances to get the fans to really cheer and really enjoy their performances. Bill Gates, you know, the founder of Microsoft, he used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and log on to his supercomputer at his local college, and he would be working throughout his whole teenage years, and he didn't become a millionaire until he was like 30, 31, I think it was. So, you know, the greatest people, you know, the most talented people that we see, they earned their place of where they are now because they put in that effort, they learned from their mistakes, and they continued. They had this resilience to keep on going and keep on moving. So again, you know, if you've got those members of the team that are coming back and saying, oh, I've done really badly on this, or I failed at this, and, you know, think about how you kind of coach them into understanding that that's a really pinnacle part of their learning and them growing as people, because what can they take from that mistake? What can they take from that as learning to move forward with it? You know, so it's about reframing that from a mistake and failure to what can I take from this? How is this going to make me better at my job? How is this going to develop me in my skills and my talents?
Just when you're talking about fixed and growth mindsets, how do you think that's been influenced by the change of how we're working? So working in the office and working from home. It's a huge change, isn't it? It just take a shift, I think, in mindset respect of how you approach lots and lots of different things.
What have you noticed, Emma? Have you noticed anything in your staff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very proud that they all have been able to move. Well, we've got 65% of the workforce is still in work because of the nature of their job. The rest of them are office based and therefore can work from home. They've all pivoted to working from home very well. But I do see, actually, as we've progressed through it, some of their influences on their well-being. But actually, I saw right at the beginning, so their mindset that this job cannot be done from home. We've never done it from home. I haven't got my stuff around me, I haven't got processes set up, I haven't got my team around me, how am I going to do everything? So actually breaking down those barriers one by one, and giving them some practical things to help them, but also finding new ways of working has been a huge challenge, interesting challenge, but a big challenge over the last few months, to the point where I think people are quite settled in what they're doing. Obviously knowing that there's another big change coming from when we start coming back to the office. So I was just interested if you had seen that in the wider perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's had such an impact on so many areas, and I think it's that you have people that embrace change, that love change, and then you have people that really hate change. And I think that's those fears coming to the surface, isn't it? Of how on earth am I going to do this? And I think actually it's been a real reminder that we are really resilient beings. We can figure things out when we're pushed into those limits of not having the same resources around us, and actually learning from that. I think there's definitely a point that we need to make about reflecting on all of the things that our staff have done and what they've achieved, to get to this point today, because do a bit of that. This time last year, if you'd have been told that this is where you would be this time this year, what would your thoughts have been? People would be like, you can't even imagine that we'd still be living this way of life, could you? But we have, and we've adapted. So I just think it's a massive opportunity to take some learning here, and actually people, it will build their resilience, it will build their confidence, and it will build their growth mindset, because they know that they've been completely pushed out of their comfort zone and they've survived, they've managed. So it's definitely something that we've seen, and I'm sure the rest of you guys have probably seen this too.
It's just interesting. I'm thinking about using the concept for when we're starting to reintroduce people back into the workforce, into the workplace. Think about, that reflection is really important, isn't it? And very powerful. But actually, how do we take them on that journey to start bringing them back when they feel safe as well? Obviously, is another very important influence, isn't it?
Yeah, it's and that can be really challenging as well, because obviously if people aren't feeling safe, they're going into that sort of survival mode, and that can be tricky. So it is reducing some of that anxiety and stress, which is probably a whole other subject that we could speak about. But being that supportive role modeling, being that supportive manager, that supportive leader, reassuring people, doing that bit of self-reflection to get them to recognise, what strengths have they built from working from home for these last 11 months? I'm even losing track now, but what have they really developed? How do they think they've grown as a person? When you're doing your appraisals with people, you might want to bring that into it. What have you really learned over this last year? This has really pushed you out of your comfort zone, and let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate what you've achieved. I think it's just having that positive approach, because it's a positive thing to celebrate. People have overcome such huge things these last few months.
Sorry to interrupt, but I am going to have to leave, I'm afraid, because I've got appointments. But thank you so much for letting me on the call. I've really took some good stuff from it already. So I look forward to getting the recording so I can see how what else is said after this. Okay, but take care, everybody, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Pamela.
Thanks, Pamela.
Bye, Pamela.
Take care.
Yeah.
Well, I am aware that it's 5 to 12, guys, so I will get through this slide very quickly, and then we've got some questions, and we can have some questions and stuff at the end. So just some tips now on how you can master this mindset. So acknowledge and embrace your imperfections, understanding those areas of improvement that we all have. There's things for all of us that we need to take on board. So not acknowledge those and think about how you can actively change those. View challenges as opportunities. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to develop. I think, just as Emma was saying, last March when we had this you know, everybody's got to work from home and we've not got the team around us, etc., etc. That's a massive challenge. And actually now that we can reflect back on it, let's review it as an opportunity and see what we've learned from this as it being an opportunity rather than a challenge for us. Try different learning tactics. We all learn differently. You know, if you're very pragmatic rather than, you know, a theorist, or you are a theorist, you enjoy the data, or if you're more of a reflector, you like to reflect on things, do something that's a little bit different for you, because that will challenge you and that will help you develop your mindset as well. And then we've got to stop seeking approval. It's really easy if we're doing something very different or something new, we constantly want that feedback that we're on the right track, but actually that stunts our ability to learn because we're not allowing ourselves to make mistakes. So think about how you actually do it, do your best, learn from it, and actually at the end, that's when you seek that feedback, that understanding of what you need to do differently. It's such a better kind of learning process. And again, you might have those members of the team that keep coming to you, have I done this right, have I done that right? Just pose that question back to them, you know, how do you think you've done? You know, give them that bit of ownership, and you know, you might even say, come back to me at the end and I'll give you that feedback then. Replace the word failing with the word learning. I'm sure we've all learned that from the previous slide. You know, actually failing is learning. And I think learning is a far more positive word than failing. There's a lot of negative connotations around failing. So think about how you maybe change that language when you're talking to your teams. Value the process over the end result. And again, because that process is so influential in what we learn and what we know. Remember your purpose, so your why are you doing this, why are you here, why are you working hard on this? Especially when we get to that point where we feel like giving up, we need to reconnect with that and reconnect with what this is going to bring us, what benefit is this bringing to us. And room for improvement means you're almost there. You know, again, if we've got quite a fixed mindset, we might hear those words, room for improvement, as a failure or as something negative, but actually it means that we're nearly there, we're not far off. There's just a few more things that we need to do to tweak that and get to where we need to be. So just to summarize then, start with your beliefs, think about your beliefs, take that time to reflect on your beliefs, and again, do this with your team, get them to think about what their beliefs are, what their values are in the workplace. Develop a growth mindset. There's so much stuff, you know, when you start Googling, you get down a bit of a rabbit hole into growth mindset. There's so much good stuff out there. Great TED Talks, Carol Dweck is really influential. So have a look at some things that you might want to do there with your teams. Understand more about the way that you think. That is so crucial, to understand the way that you respond, the way that you think about things. Recognize your attitudes, your assumptions that you have based upon your mindset. And that will inevitably help you recognize the mindset of others. You know, you might even be mentoring somebody and recognize that their mindset is very similar to a mindset that you once had. You know, share with them perhaps some useful tips or techniques to help them challenge that. And notice how your view of the world influences others. So we all have a different view on the world. Think about how that influences the people that you work with, and your friends and family. You know, it's not just for the workplace, as we've said earlier. This is about how we work with people. So feel free to spread this far and wide outside of the workplace too. Okay. That's me summarised there. So I'll pass you over to Tim for a little bit. And if you've got any questions and you want to stay at the end to ask questions, please feel free to.
Great, thanks, Jess. You know, it's some really good tips. You know, it's amazing how quick that hour went. Really, as I look back, we're really just the tip of the iceberg as far as what else could be covered, and exploring mindsets. I know it's a challenge for me daily, especially with children. That I was just completely taken with that fixed and growth piece around one of my children. Is when you mentioned about maths, she's always said she's terrible at maths, and she's actually very good. And my challenge is to constantly trying to convince her that she is actually good at it, but I can still see her thinking, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So, where's that come from? How's that come about? So, all right. So, as I said, it's a bit of a tip of the iceberg. We just flick to the next slide for us. We've got some upcoming events. We are running a course on this starting, as you can see, on March 4. If you did want to explore that, let us know. We can get you on that. It's an open course. We can run more bespoke stuff if that's of interest. We have 2 other events coming up as well, 2 more free webinars. One quite excited about, actually. It's in a couple of weeks on the 25th of February. It's not advertised. It's on how to three ways to stay healthy whilst working in the home office. As I sit here next to my packet of Doritos, I realised I could probably attend that session and be of great value. So I'm bringing along my personal trainer who's going to run that session, and he's got some great tips about how to keep moving, stay active, what sort of food you should be eating, all that sort of stuff. So I would recommend you come along to that. And we've got one coming up in March as well around prioritising, coming to your point, Emma, about one of your challenges is moving everybody back into the workplace if and when that time comes, is how do you prioritize some of the key challenges that you might be facing and some of the mindsets that you're tackling there as well. So, okay, so that's pretty much the end of the session. Having said that, there's an opportunity to ask some questions and answers, and also to get some feedback. We run these sessions every month, so any feedback you've got will be great for help us, whether it be just on the style or whether specific content you might want us to cover going forward. So I'll open it up to the group and then we'll close off.
I feel like it was really, really informative. I've never had anything done like even through work like this before, and I think it's important for workplaces to bring something like this on board. I only saw this through someone on my Instagram sharing it. Sharing your post, Jess. So I saw it through that and then shared it with the managers within the company. So yeah, it's something that I'm so glad I've come on board, and not only I'll come on here to think about my team, but actually going back to Rebecca's point, it actually has helped my mindset and what I can do moving forward, because this whole year has been a bit of a crazy one. So yeah, I thought it was really, really informative, really helpful. And I'll definitely be back 100%. I loved it.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Social media as well.
Yeah.
yeah, brilliant. Any other thoughts or questions?
I just actually forwarded an email onto my wellbeing team this morning about the influence of networks, and actually all the different networks that you have around you. And so, being a standalone HR person, I've got Nikki there, she's fantastic, but she's been there for 3 months. Before that, there's about 3 years where you're on your own, and your mindset towards your job is, for me, replenished and refreshed by networks. And so I think it's really interesting, the power of a network, but also understanding the different types of network on your mindset. So that certainly tweaked my interest a little bit to sort of explore that a bit further, I think. Because sometimes we're a bit insular, aren't we? And we just look at the people around us, but it's that wider network that really gives us the ideas. So yeah, I think
yeah, especially this year as well. If we have been working sort of in isolation as well, we've not had that free-flowing conversation with everybody else, have we? I suppose, and that does challenge our mindset and builds it, doesn't it? So yeah, it's so important to connect with like-minded people. Thanks, Emma. I'll just stop sharing this now so we can see each other.
Or was there any other thoughts, Rebecca or Nikki?
With myself, I just want to give some feedback. I think the words that you used were very powerful, especially reframing the mind. I think that's really powerful itself. Reflecting, adapting, resilience, behaviors, everything, it all sort of just cross-references everything else. I think the examples that you did give as well, Jessica, I think was quite good because it's more personalized in that sense. So you understand the meaning behind certain areas, especially like fixed and growth. So yeah, thank you so much. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Ooh. Nikki, feel free to jump on if you've got anything else you want to say.
Sorry, I was just getting distracted by my son there for a few moments. But yeah, I really appreciate your time. It's really interesting to kind of understand why we do things, and you know, definitely how we feel nervous in a situation from previous experiences, and we build from other people's. But it resonated with me because I used to work with somebody who literally looked like she was cross with you in meetings, but actually it was her thinking face. And when she got that powerful feedback that, you know, it's quite off-putting, she was like, but it's my thinking face. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So as a person, she, you know, that she changed and she worked on that, and it just kind of helps to kind of remind yourself that everything that you do in terms of looking after and supporting your teams, you know, just the smallest thing can make a big difference to somebody else. So yeah, really appreciated everything, and it's really helped me to remember how I need to approach situations to help others to change their approach to it as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nikki. All right, just to wrap things up, I'm happy to take a call with any of you if you wanted to explore more your specific circumstances. I know, Charlotte, you've got a broad responsibility amongst your group, so happy to have a chat about some strategies. Likewise, Emma, you mentioned about wanting to, how do you transition people back into the workplace? You know, I think everybody's probably forgotten that point. It's got me thinking about that, actually. So happy to have a conversation around that. I've just popped my email address as well as Sarah's in there as well, so you can contact either of us if you wanted to discuss this topic or any other for that matter, and more than happy to have a chat and discuss that further. Finally, I'd just like to, firstly, just thank Jessica for joining us. I think you would all agree her style is very nice and very easy to listen to, and I thank you for taking the time to join us today and share your knowledge and experience. And lastly, I'd like to thank you. I know that you know, webinars and sitting on Zoom calls are the regular today, so to take your time and take another one and enjoy the content and the discussion, I very much appreciate. So all the best, and hope to see you in future webinars, or alternatively, if you make contact, happy to have a chat.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Okay.
Lovely
you.
to meet you all.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Cheers.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.